Thank you guys for coming in for the second week. This is episode 2 of the mental health checkups with my friend CrashAndrews over here. Yep, there he is. And appreciate you guys coming in. Last week we've had some pretty serious talks about people who need help, and hopefully, and I had a lot of messages from people on Discord privately thanking me, and they wanted me to send thanks to you guys for sharing your stories, because it takes a lot to open up and share stories that affect you emotionally, especially some of the stories that we heard for that week. So again, I thank you guys along with many others who watched and listened, and I appreciate all the guys sharing on Twitter and trying to get this out as much as possible, and hopefully we can help someone this week too. So I said in the start when I started this that I started this because of a conversation I had with Crash on his stream, and it really resonated with me that maybe I'm not as okay as I thought I was, and that's what we talked about last week. And it's through topics that Crash is about to pitch in on about what made me think that. So take it over, Crash.
Am I muted?
No,
Just
no.
Make sure everybody can hear me, right?
You're good.
Yeah, I think the conversation you and I had on stream while I was streaming was I'm just loading up your chat too here, just in case. Basically, like I found myself that's kind of a weird thing in the chat there.
Yeah.
Kind of found myself in a weird spot. Found myself kind of questioning what I was doing, where I was, how I was handling a lot of things, and really found myself reaching and looking for people to help, and wasn't really finding anything. And it just kind of got to a point of just going and talking to my doctor, and figuring a few things out. And but I think the biggest theme that really came out of that discussion is the theme of you're not alone only goes so far. My struggles, Crofto's struggles, anybody's struggles, are not the answer to you dealing with yours. And that was kind of my main theme. Was I can sit here and I can talk, and we'll probably talk about how we got to where we needed to get to kind of turn the corner and everything. But anybody watching this, anybody listening, anybody who is dealing with their own things, me working on myself and my situation is not the answer for you working on yourself and your situation. So since that conversation, I've really been pushing people to just go and talk to a professional, even if it was like the smallest to the biggest issues. Watching my stream, being here for Crofto's stream, anything like that, is a good first step. But it's only the kickoff to the marathon that you should be getting yourself into, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Hi, Martin. First up, before we go any further, Denmark Viking, are you okay, buddy? Do you want to talk? Because if you do, we will be here to talk to you. All right. If you want, you can start typing out some of the struggles you're dealing with, and then we can talk about it. We're going to go through a little bit more about what we're talking about now, and then we can get back to you then if you were interested to have your time. Hi there, hip checks. Appreciate you coming in. All right. So, yeah. So based on what Crash said, I had, we talked about everyone has something that stresses them, that puts anxiety in their life, and everyone has different levels. It doesn't mean that they're not as important as others. Everyone has to work through them, and everyone copes differently. Some people are more fortunate than others. Other people are put in tougher situations, which can add to the stress. And through our stories last week, we definitely definitely changes a lot of stuff. So again, last week when we talked, definitely opened my eyes to what some of the things that you guys are going through, because at the end of the day, you guys aren't just names on a screen. Like, I've gotten to know a lot of you guys over the last few months, especially guys that come by every night and say hi. And again, I appreciate that. So I feel with that, I've really have grown an appreciation for each and every one of you. So thank you for doing that. Um, so tonight, instead of talking about my current situations and troubles, I'm just going to give a small update from what happened last week. With the stress of my daughter being in the hospital for a while with RSV, we decided that it's in our best interest to pull my child out of daycare, especially with COVID starting to ramp up again, and it's affecting children. Talked to a couple doctors, and so I'm going to be a full-time dad for the next year. So I'm putting the teaching career aside for a little bit. Gonna see what happens. I'm fully capable of teaching my daughter just like they do at daycare. Another plus, it's going to save me $300 a week, which is nice. But I mean, mostly it's because of my wife's mental health, of knowing that my daughter's safe. We're not putting her in unneeded risk, because my wife was struggling, and I didn't realize how much she was struggling until I started talking about our show last week, and she really opened up about that. And I didn't realize how much it was affecting her. So I decided to sacrifice a little bit to help her mental health and my child's actual health. And so that's the update with that. Alpo, what's going on, buddy? Super sexy senator, I appreciate you being here.
I think one of the things that is going to be a common theme, especially over the next little bit, and has been for the past year and a half, is COVID. I don't think nobody was really ready for this. As much as we got like warnings a year ago, January, hints that this thing could be bad, it should be bad, it's coming, nobody really knew what that meant. As much as it's black and white of like, it's a pandemic,
right?
Nobody, but I don't think everybody is treating it the way that they should, and I think that puts a lot of pressure on everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You can handle it how you want, as far as I'm concerned. At the end of the day, one of my biggest things is, if you're not hurting anybody else or yourself, you can do whatever you want. The scary part is that COVID, for the most part, from what I understand of it now, it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated, doesn't matter if you wear a mask, doesn't matter. I mean, wearing a mask keeps you from catching it and spreading it for the most part. But not here to be a doctor, not here to be, just from my understanding. But even getting vaccinated, you can still get it and hold it and share it. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to feel the effects, is the biggest difference. But that was kind of one of the main things that kind of tipped me over the edge in my situation, was somebody who I had worked a shift with at work. On, say, like a Monday, by Thursday, they were positive. And just knowing that it was that close really felt like somebody had pointed a loaded gun in my direction, and it scared the bejesus out of me, and I didn't know how to cope with it. And I think that is one of the biggest things over the past little bit, especially with mental health, is COVID is the major wild card here. Scared a lot of people, and we lost a lot of people. It's affected a lot of people, and I just that was the biggest changing point for me, realizing my situation. Denmark, we're not professionals either. We're just two dudes who have had to deal with our own stuff. if you are in a lot of trouble, I would call professionals. I would even call the police. If you think you're in danger of yourself, I would call the police. I would, if you're not getting the help that you're looking for, find more help.
Yeah. Little
I don't know
disclaimer.
what else. We're just two dudes on Twitch.
All right, little disclaimer. We are not professionals. I did forget to open with that because of all my fails with the muting and stuff. But we are not professionals. We are just, again, two dudes talking. I've put in our little chat bot here some crisis helplines. If you feel like you're in danger now, I would definitely go seek help if it's something that you really feel like you're in danger, because that, like, we cannot give you advice. We're just sharing experiences. So but kind of going on what you said there, Crash, I think a big problem here is we have, in the United States at least, I know you're in Canada, there's always been that thing where we hear news around the world, but it never affects us, right? We're kind of in our own little world. Right.
Until it does.
But the thing is, like, it usually doesn't, and people don't, like, even go through. And now that COVID actually came over, I don't think people took it seriously, because they're like, oh, it's just something that's happening over there when it first started. And then it just kind of, like, went off the handles, right? And it's sad how it happened, and I think that just added tons of stress to people. And obviously now we're at now, and, you know, again, handle it however you will, as long as you're not putting anyone else in danger. That, you know, do you, you know?
Good.
But yeah, I just know that over the last year, that definitely put a lot of stress on our family, because you don't know. You're dealing with a virus that you have no idea what it's about, right? So we actually quarantined for quite a while because we had a newborn, and didn't want to put her in danger, and she's at the risk of catching every single virus because she hasn't had anything yet. So yeah, I mean, I definitely see where you're coming with that. So, but
well, I think too, like you said, like we were new to it, and by the time we all figured out what we needed to do with it, we had taxed the system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hope I'm not speaking out of place, but I mean, medical situations right now, there are no beds because they're all being used. In my own situation, I have talked to a therapist who can only get me in once a month because of how busy she is. Like, right now is when we need it the most, and right now it's when it's taxed the most as well because of everybody going through their things. So to read what Viking was saying there, like, yeah, it's really tough that if you have to find the thing that works for you, and right now maybe that thing isn't available because it is being overused right now, because everybody, not everybody needs it, but, you know, a lot of people are finding out who they really are in moments of crisis and need. And I know that I was. I always thought that mental illness was something I never had. I'd never experienced. I could fight through. I could just kind of close my eyes and get through or whatever. And then all of a sudden, a month or two ago, I'm finding myself smack dab in the middle of freaking out at work and doing harm all over the place. So I would, that's my biggest thing. Like, if you think that if you're scared of something, talk to somebody. If you're worried about hurting yourself, talk to somebody. Find somebody. Even if that person can only get you in once a month, like, you have to, you're not going to be able to get through this alone. Again, my big thing is don't let our situations be what you think is medication for all of this. That I love the fact that Crofto is going through his stuff, and he welcomed me onto his stream to talk. But that's not the key. That's not the finish line. It's a good start, and his situation isn't going to fix mine, just like mine isn't going to fix his. But the more conversation we have about it, the more comfortable I am going through what I'm going through, to get myself to a better place.
Yep. And that's the purpose of this show, is to just open people's eyes and know that they're not alone as far as having some kind of problems that they might need to talk to a professional about. And it's okay to talk to people. And like, I think it was Strawberry said, sometimes you just don't mesh with the therapist, and that's okay. Don't be afraid to seek out another one that you mesh with well. I know my wife has gone to see someone, and it took her third one before she felt comfortable enough with that person to really open up. And that's okay. I mean, not every person on this earth meshes with the other one. So do yourself a favor. Seek help if you need it. And yeah, so, but yeah, it is hard to believe. Super Sexy Senator said, hard to believe I was on a trip in January last year. COVID was not a thing, and now all I want is life back. Yeah, we had plans to go on a lot of trips. We were in the process of going out to we were trying to hit out every hockey stadium as a couple, and we hit 5 or 6, and then then she got pregnant, so we didn't go as much, but we were going to start going again, and then COVID hit, so we're still stuck at 6. But I mean, I do media for a site that does stuff for the Hershey Bears, and I didn't go at all last year, just because it didn't feel like it was worth the risk to go. It's just how it is. It stinks because I just want life to be back normal. I think everyone is on that page. I don't think anyone is enjoying this. But it's a sacrifice, right? We have to sacrifice a little bit to hopefully one day get back there. So, let's see here. Morgoth. Yeah, it's true. COVID hit us hard. I finished high school without seeing my friends and started college without making any friends. So I haven't felt alone or antisocial for a long time. And I'll tell you what, when we were quarantined, I broke down. And I'll be honest, I was streaming every night, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough at all. Like, I was in a routine where I would wake up, I would take care of my kid. I was excited for her to go take a nap so I could take a nap. And then she got up. We did some stuff. Now, this is when she was little, so she wasn't very active. She was just kind of being a baby. And then my wife would get off work. We would hang out for a little bit, and then I'd come on stream, and that was my day every day for like 6 months. And it wore me down. Like, I wasn't enjoying streaming. I wasn't enjoying video games. And I actually stopped streaming for like a week or two to kind of recharge because I needed something different. And so I talked to my wife and just told her, it's like, look, like, we need to start thinking of other things to do around the house and stuff, because I'm falling in this trap, which I'll talk about later, was a trap that I fell into in the past, which then put me into depression. And I have experienced it before. I haven't really told anyone that outside of like my wife and my mom and sister who experienced it with me. But I started seeing signs, and when I noticed those signs, I spoke out, and things changed real quick, and it got me out of it. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Cornwall says I'm the only one with kids at my job. No one takes COVID seriously. I'm always stressed out about bringing it home, and my daughter's getting it. And actually, Cornwall, I don't know if you heard in the beginning, that's why we're pulling my daughter out of daycare, because kids aren't required to wear them anymore at our daycare, and she's at the age where they don't wear them anyway. She's just about to turn 2, but we walk in there and all the teachers are supposed to have them on, and no one's wearing them, and it freaks my wife out, right? It freaks me out too, but my wife is taking it a little harder because we don't want to put her in a situation that we could prevent her from. Same thing with me teaching. I didn't find a full-time teaching position, so I was going to substitute. But unfortunately, I would have been subbing at different schools all over the place. And is it really worth me risking going to a new classroom every day to bring it home to my daughter when last year, when I was in school, COVID ran through our school like crazy. And now the schools in my area are not requiring mask use at all. So kids are just going back like nothing happened. And the numbers are supporting that it's getting worse. So That's why we pulled her out. So I totally understand how you feel there, bud, because I mean, I know your kids are young too. They can't even get a vaccine or any kind of help, so they're kind of on their own with that kind of stuff. So it is tough. So
That was kind of the same thing with me with the coworker too. I mean, you go in to do a job to maintain a mortgage and pay bills through all of this, and then you come home and then you share COVID like that. That to me, I hope this doesn't come across as sensitive or whatever, but I couldn't. Through all of this, I would rather experience COVID myself than to bring it home and share it with my family, like my wife, my kids. My parents live right next door, and they're in their 70s, like early 70s, and both diabetic, and not necessarily overly susceptible, but on the same token, when all this started, and as we kind of mentioned too, um, we didn't know enough in the beginning, and all this stuff was kind of going on, and people are dying, and we don't know why, and we don't know. The common theme was it was hitting the elderly, so the younger, 40 and under should be fine, and all this, and we find out that that's not even true, and like it was just amazingly scary to have to make decisions to continue whatever way of life that you had and still put people in jeopardy regardless, no matter how smart you are. Like, we never left our house for the entire year.
right.
We except to go to work. We didn't do anything. We basically stayed home. And knowing that other people went on vacations, and knowing, like, especially, like, I live in Alberta, and Alberta's government has just been stupid through all of this. It's insulting. It's almost borderline a slap in the face when you're trying to take care of yourself and your friends and your family. You don't see your friends for an entire year, which doesn't help with the mental side of things. You only talk to them over the phone or anything like that, or over social media. And then the Profto, I feel you when it came to streaming and everything too. Like, streaming kind of almost felt like the absolute escape from everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then people would start talking about COVID in chat, and it was just like, man, I want to get away from all of this. And there were days I didn't want to, and I did take weeks off here and there. And then right before COVID hit, I actually found a really good, cozy job that actually worked well with the streaming schedule, and I could check in on everybody while they were streaming and get stuff done at work, and then deal with home stuff, and it was the proper balance. And then by March, when everything started shutting down, I lost my job.
Mm-hmm.
And rightfully so. Nobody was going out and buying homes. I was selling show homes. So it was what generalizations are we doing there, Jace?
He's him and Aaron are friends. They're both from Texas.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. I
thought
a joke with that.
I thought you were talking to me for a second. Yeah, it just everything. It almost felt too like over the past year and a half, everything that you were doing to take care of yourself and making sure your family was safe and all that stuff, everything you were doing was the wrong thing, because nothing was getting better. It wasn't necessarily the right, or it was always the right thing, but it was always it feels like it was the wrong thing because we're still here. And we went out, we wore masks when we went out this weekend. But like, you just kind of have to double check and think about what you're doing. And sadly, you can't change other people's perception of what's going on or whatever. Like, I honestly thought that a year ago that if we actually had a full-on shutdown where I live, we'd be through it. And now on this side of it, I'm like, no, nobody else is through it yet, so how could we be? Like, unless you're like living in Australia or New Zealand or whatever. So yeah, it's weird. It like I said before, like, nobody was ready for it, and even to be mentally prepared. nobody was ready for it, and now we're here, and uh, I can't imagine anybody coming through this and saying I didn't struggle, I didn't think about things that I'd never thought about before. I don't know how things are going to work on the other side of this. And those are the conversations that need to happen, either with a professional or in I mean, we can't, like you've said before, we can't suggest anything, but on the same token, all I can say is just make sure you're okay. Do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself so that you can have further conversations down the road, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think we're going to move on from the COVID talk, because we could talk about that every week.
That was my biggest thing, though. That was the biggest trigger for me. Like, sorry to interrupt there, but we had a hard year, maybe 2 years before, and then COVID was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. So that kind of, to me, was the catalyst of finding. I haven't found the right decisions. I haven't found the right things, but I've been trending in the right direction a lot more than I have in the past 3 years.
Right. Yeah, and I know you've talked about it before too, with mental health stuff. I remember conversations that I've heard on your stream in the past, and obviously COVID kind of exemplifies all that stuff. So I'm glad you are doing better. I mean, especially talking about it on your stream. I have noticed you have that chip in your step again with your streams, which
I
which
found
is
this.
Yeah. But again, I was going, like I said, I was going through the same thing with streaming. I wasn't bored. I just lost any kind of motivation to even want to do it. And that was the only thing I was doing besides taking care of my kids. So it was tough, and tough to come to that realization that I used to be so busy. Like I ran a hockey league, I did media, I did all these streaming events, and this was all before I had a kid, and then I had a kid and everything just kind of stopped because life stops for like 4 months while you're just trying to survive with a newborn.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, and then COVID hit right after that. So it was just like it never ended. It was just the same survival techniques you were doing and for that time it was like 9 months because the first 4 months were just her being born, and then COVID hit. So it was the same thing every day for that long. So but yeah, no, not to cut the COVID thing short. Obviously, what's up, Sharky?
Can I ask you, when it comes to like streaming and
Sure.
trying to find that that escape and all that stuff too, just because of the situation that I was in, did you find that you were kind of stretching and kind of grabbing at the numbers and the results and all of that a little bit more through all of that? Because that's kind of what I found with myself was when you talk about streaming, like, consistency is key, but then you talk about needing to take the time off and get away from it, which can be counterproductive, and it was. And then coming and not bringing your best self when you're live and not being entertaining, and then you're grabbing at numbers to try and see if even this is even worth it or whatever. And I found myself digging myself a huge hole when it came to streaming because I was looking at it wrong. And I think you and I have had those discussions about, like, hey, do it because you love it, not because of the numbers and all of that stuff.
Yeah. First off, love you too, there, Sharky. We've so what I've always told myself when I first started. First off, I turned down streaming for a long time. I kept getting asked to do it, and I was like, no one wants to watch me play games. Like, I thought it was the stupidest thing. Even though I play games all the time, it's like, who watches it? Like, who would want to watch an old man play games, right? And come to find out, I started streaming, and I got lucky because I hit the NHL scene at like the right time because there wasn't a lot of people, because it was towards like probably like the third quarter of the game, and like the big streamers were kind of gone. Deke was like right around the same level as I was. He didn't have a lot of people, so he was always streaming, and then we had like Kevin Bacon was the same way. We're all kind of like right there at that pace, and then Deke just took off, and Kevin Bacon did very successful too for the time being, but when I was doing fairly well. I was averaging like 25 a night, which to me is good. You know, like I'm happy with that.
Right.
And then had the kid, and I was gone for 4 months, and then come back, and I don't know what I thought in my head, but I didn't think it'd be as bad as it was, as far as numbers. So it did affect me a little bit. I'll be honest that I was averaging like 2 or 3. It's like, man, I got to start totally over. This is not what I expected. I expected at least some people to come back, and they did after a while, because but like I restarted my Discord. Like I just totally reset. Um, and yeah, I mean I was looking at numbers, and I've always told myself I won't ever care about that. Because either way, I'm playing, if I'm in front of a camera or not. Like I'm on playing games with my friends, and then yeah, and then it started to wear me down a little bit, and then eventually I stopped. I had to talk with myself and be like, you know, this isn't why we're streaming.
Right.
You know, even though I'm putting in more effort now than I did then, because I wasn't working at the time. So and then I've slowly have built up a community again, which is nice. You know, I didn't get like, you know, 10 to 15 people, and it's usually the same people. And again, I appreciate all you guys coming in. A lot of you guys are here tonight, so I do appreciate that. Um, it is very overwhelming to come back after being somewhat successful, especially in Twitch, because I don't know if you heard this, but if you have 10 viewers and you average 10 viewers, you're in like the top like 10% of all Twitch streamers, which is pretty insane to think about. But it's all, you know, if you think about how many people are streaming and they only have like 1 or 2 viewers, it's hard to get started. It's incredibly hard, and you know you have to find your niche, and um, it's hard to get people to stay in your chat. I get a lot of people coming in just to say hi and then they leave, and it's hard to get their attention for the minute and a half that they give you, right? If it's
Right.
even that long. So yeah, numbers really did weigh me down when I first came back. I actually considered not doing it anymore. I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this anymore. But then I talked myself out of it, and I'm glad I did, because I've met, you know, like Strawberry, and I mean Jace is talking a lot more in my chat, and always known Sharky and stuff, and um, again, and I'm glad I decided to stay, because I don't know what I would be doing now that I'm not working for the next year. Um, but yeah, so yeah, it did it um when you came back, because you did take some time off, did it affect you the same way?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Last summer was amazing, mainly because was it so I'm coming up on 2 years. I started in September, so my first summer. So this I'm just trying to figure out the timeline in my head. Yeah, last summer, because Deke and I we were talking and we came up with that Masters Challenge, with franchise, and I really started to enjoy NHL in the summer. I really started to enjoy streaming. I was really enjoying the interactions I was having with my chat and everything like that. Which, if I can jump on Sharky's comment there about how much he needed us, I can tell you flat out, if you're in Crofto's chat and keeping his chat moving, I hope I can speak on behalf of Crofto and any other streamer. The feeling is absolutely mutual.
Mm-hmm.
I started actually paying attention to like websites like Twitch Matrix or Metrics, not Matrix, Twitch Metrics, and seeing how I was doing in the directory. And I actually was in the top 25 streamers of NHL, even though Summer and guys like Nuke and Henrique had moved on to different games and all that stuff. I was just like, yeah, I'm in the top 25. I'm in the top 20. I'm in the and started to like drink that Kool-Aid and everything like that. New game comes out, and now I've got a really good base behind me, and then COVID hits and we're behind, and yeah, and then you got to take the time to walk away from it, and you're not feeling it anymore, and all of that stuff, and then you start looking at those numbers again, and you don't have those numbers, and that affects you. and I've never looked at numbers before, except just to make sure, because the doing that summer of the Masters Challenge and everything like that was really cool. It was a lot of fun to get through and to create, and you kind of start seeing the fruits of your labor and everything like that, and then you have to walk away from it. You come back and it's not there anymore, and you're kind of questioning why, and you're not enjoying it as much and everything like that. And as much as the common theme is you should never look at your numbers, you should never look at who's viewing you at the time or whatever. It really got to me. It really, I you were talking about the stuff that you do. I do the same stuff where I live. Like, I'm a announcer for a minor junior hockey team. Guys who won't make it but still love the game. I MC fundraisers. I take part in golf tournaments. I kind of, I hope I'm not tooting my own horn when I say I'm an influencer in the small town that I live in. And that disappeared. Like, I love entertaining. I love being I love having a camera on me. I love having a microphone in front of me. That's just how I was wired. And that all disappeared, and that goes away, and then you get back to it and it's not as much fun, and then now you're trying to figure out who you are again, and it sucks. So, and then you have to go be real life person, and then it really I took my first retail job heading into last Christmas, probably my first retail job in like 20 years, and that world has changed. So trying to figure that out again while you're trying to figure out who you are and what you're doing in real life and everything like that, it was completely different as well. So it really, that it was a real mind fuck.
Right. Yeah.
I can't explain it any other. It really messed with me. So.
All right. Yeah, kind of going off what Strawberry said, lurkers are the backbone of any stream, and honestly, that's victimizer. I will be 100% honest with you. Until I saw you talking to someone else's stream, and you've never talked in my stream, I know you've been on the list for a long time. I thought you were one of the bots that just get added. I had no idea that you were an actual person, but when you started talking to my stream, man, I'm glad I met you, and I know you, like, every time I look at the list, your name is always there, and I appreciate that very, very much. Let's see. When I first started,
it's not
good.
It's very much, you've hit it on the head. Like, once you get to a certain level in this, and like Crofto said, like 25 isn't the biggest number, but holy Hannah, like, one of the best explanations I've heard is, like, go back to when you were 8 and you had the sleepover birthday party and you had 5, 6, 7 of your friends and you're playing video games and you've got the controller. How cool did that feel? That's what this kind of feels like. So to have 10, to have 15, to have 20, to have 25, to have 50, to have 100 at any given time, people watching, it's very cool. It's a very cool feeling, but at the end of the day, like, you want to maintain it as a streamer, and with everything else going on, your focus isn't in on it anymore, and it,
especially at an older age. Yeah, especially like, well, I know, I just meant like me and you, and I mean, I know Deke is older and stuff, and some of the young kids, that's what they do. They go to school, they do that, no big deal. But when you start having kids involved, and
just give me one quick sec here.
Yeah, no problem. When you start having kids involved and like a family, it's a different situation. It's not always the same. So, Cornwall, I'm going to read your comment here. So when I first started streaming, I was playing Ishul, some buds, numbers sucked. I switched to Hut, numbers went up, but I started hating the game and streaming. So I will tell you this, Cornwall. I absolutely hate Hut. I hate Ultimate Team anything. I tried it, and I hated it. All I stream is Ishul. I don't watch streamers, especially in the NHL community, because of what they're playing. I will go in and watch a Hut stream if I find the streamer entertaining. That's how I found you. You're entertaining. You're interactive with the chat. I hate going into chats and it's like overfilled with people. I mean, like, the streamer doesn't even look at what you're saying. So that's why I hung around yours, for sure. So just to kind of give you some insight about why I stuck around. All right, Aaron, drive safe. Um, so yeah, to give you some insight on that, does anyone have, before I get started on like past stuff, because I want this guy to hear what I'm saying too. Um, Anyone have anything they'd like to bring up today? It could be anything current, could be anything from the past that you dealt with. If you want to keep your name anonymous, hit me up on Discord, which is here. Send me a message.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I just opened it up to the viewers if they have anything they want to add. They can do it through Discord anonymously. Um, you can do it in the chat here, and if you actually want to talk, if it's send me a message on Discord and tell me the topic, and I'll just ask you some questions before we get started. Sharky is terrified to have a kid. That's actually a real thing, especially if it's your first one. It didn't hit me until my wife was like 9 months pregnant, and then it hit me. I'm like, I'm about to have a kid. I'll give one situation, how it's different between males and females. My wife ended up miscarrying our first one after a month, or no, 2 months, 3 months. It was very hard for her. She went through a lot of trauma and thought she was alone in that, and thought she wasn't good enough, which I know I've heard a lot of other females say. And it's a tough thing to go through. As far as me as becoming a father, it didn't hit me as hard, because nothing about me changed other than the fact that I wasn't going to be a dad, right? My wife's whole body changed, like her whole anatomy changed. She went through the emotions of everything. I went through the emotions of just getting told I wasn't going to be a dad. So it did hit me, but for her, it was a totally different experience. And I even told her, if she doesn't want to take the chance of going through that again, I'm not going to ask her to, because I saw how much that did. And we ended up trying again, and then we did have her kid. But she opened up to some of her friends, and every single person she talked to has gone through that same experience. Being at the hockey rink that I run, there's a lot of wives and stuff, so she started talking to some people, and every single one of them went through that same experience. And then she started realizing that this is more of a normal thing. And after talking to some doctors, and she did talk to a therapist again, talk to some professionals if you're having trouble, that it usually happens because your body is rejecting it for a reason, because it's not developing the right way. It's not because your body's not good enough. And once she started rethinking things, she was more comfortable trying again. So again, Sharky, I know it's a little different from what you're talking about, but that gave me anxiety the second time around, because I didn't want to put my wife through that again if it happened again, because I saw how much it affected her the last time. But from what I hear and what I see on Facebook, man, I mean, I know you're going to be a good dad, man. I know you've been having the baby fever since Sydney was born here. So you've always commented on stuff, so I appreciate that. But did you have any anxiety when you... or were you just excited?
Yes. To read what Sharky's saying too, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't know what parenthood is like until the moment you become a parent. Mm-hmm. And that's not even like the moment of birth. That's like when they hand you the child to take home, because mm-hmm. you have professionals around you to I don't think I changed my son's first diapers. There was somebody else bathing them and cleaning them and all that stuff, right? So I had the anxiety of, I need to learn more. I need to know more before this happens. I need to know everything. And it got to a point where I actually stayed up and read an entire book in one night to try and absorb everything. And I still didn't know everything. So I didn't have anxiety but I also did have that fear of like, what's it going to be like? Am I going to be a good dad? Am I, is the child going to be okay? All of that stuff. So, but once you become a parent, you start knowing, not it's not like it just happens, but you start figuring out the things you need to know. You don't need to know everything right away. You just need to know that you're going to be a parent and have the confidence to um, get the answers when the situations pop up.
Mm-hmm.
That was it for me. Like, that's what I've told. Out of my group of friends, I was the first one to have kids, and they were asking like, "Oh my gosh, like what's this like? What's that like?" I'm like, "Dude, relax, just
Right.
relax." I can't even tell you because your child's going to be different, and you're going to deal with it differently, or maybe the same, but for the most part, you'll deal with things that I've never dealt with, and I'll deal with things that you've never dealt with. You don't need to know everything day one or moment one. So,
Right. What's up, Blackfire and Spud? Appreciate you guys showing up.
I
Yeah, and
can
that's. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, can I touch on one thing?
Yeah.
How I'm trying to word this because it just popped in my head of what you were talking about. Like, I think one of the most dangerous things in the world is shame.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to hear what your wife said, because we were with no disrespect, we were lucky enough never to have to deal with that, but
Mm-hmm.
my wife's sister did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that the shame that comes along with it, as opposed to, hey, just deal with it. And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to
Mm-hmm.
be, but just deal with it and move on to the next thing. Just deal with, like, and that was with me with mental health. Was, I don't know if it was shame, but it was like I never really thought I'd be in a situation where I'd even be here talking about experiences that I've had. I always thought that I was above it.
Mm-hmm.
And that if I had to talk to somebody, it was shameful and everything like that. Get shame out of your head. Just go and deal with stuff.
Right, and that was the corner that we had to turn. A lot of emotional nights. What's up, Davos? Appreciate you being here too, buddy. Um,
Davis.
oh, I was just saying Davos.
No, I know.
But yeah, it was turning the curve, right, and changing the mindset of, you know, like I understood how she felt, but I also
You
knew
can.
that. Well, I mean, well, I can't not like I
I
know
know what
I
you're saying.
understand
Yeah.
what she was going through, but I didn't understand why she couldn't turn the curve, and so that's something that I struggled with too. And it did take a little bit, you know. And the doctors were telling us the best time to try again is right away because your body's set for it, right?
Right.
But yeah, we didn't because she wasn't in a good place, and um, but yeah, it's just one of those things that it was hard, and it could be for anything. Shame is not just with that kind of situation. It could be somebody not liking the way they look, and so or weight or anything. Like, you can change things as far as like working out, and if you feel like you want to lose weight and you don't like the way you look in the mirror, like, you can work out, try to work on yourself, try to eat better. There's always ways to, like, help out with things. It's just turning that curve of making a difference and making change in your life for more positive instead of tearing yourself down. So
I've been reading this book called Atomic Habits, and they go into this thing about 1%. Just find 1% to improve on.
mm-hmm.
Like, the smallest things can trigger the biggest result. And I'm the type that, going back to the numbers and everything, I'm the type that I just want to see one more viewer in chat. I just want to see one more, more chat. I just want to see improvement, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to be night and day right away for me. It just needs to move forward. And I think I got stuck in shame. I got stuck in my own head, and shame is a terrible playground to be playing in, especially when you're trying to convince other people that you're not having the problems that you actually are having.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense too.
Right. And
It's kind of weird. Like, I'm trying to use my example, and it's kind of counterproductive to the other example, because I was trying to convince people I was okay. versus trying to convince people that you're not okay when you actually are. Like, you just have to look or just slow down and breathe and just be aware of the situation and actually talk to people and find out how things are actually going and whether it contradicts or not. Because I was getting angry. I was getting angry that people were actually telling me, it kind of felt like they were telling me what I wanted to hear. So that when people were actually telling me what was actually going on, I couldn't believe the things that were actually going on because I had people actually telling me that everything was fine. Like the stuff that was going on in my head was actually happening versus what actually was happening. But yeah, it's just weird. It's almost two wavelengths, but also I don't know.
Yeah, well, kind of going off the chat, like after we talked, like I kind of realized that, the see you later, Sharky, the fake smile, right? I mean, I know that it's something that I had to. I mean, I was doing for a little bit, not had to, but I was, because as soon as I turn off the stream, I literally sat here in my chair, staring at a screen for a little bit, and half hour could go by, right? And I'm just like looking at stuff, and I'm just like not like I didn't feel like I accomplished anything. I didn't feel satisfied with what I just did. And then you go on stream and you have this. It's almost like a personality type, right? You're putting on a show, and then like like my mom came by the one day. She go, "Are you okay? You just don't look yourself." And then it kind of, when she was saying that, I didn't really realize what she was saying. But then when we talked, it kind of made me realize like those are like little clues that really opened my eyes to that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I think there were people around me too that were very careful around me when all I needed was them to just come and slap me in the face and tell me I was being an idiot, and I don't know if that plays into the whole shame thing too. Like, you don't want to go up to somebody and say, "Hey, I think you have mental problems."
Right. Yeah, and you have to be sensitive to the subjects.
Right. But on the same token, like I need that sometimes. I need people to just lay it out to me. But I know that I reached out to friends and people and just like, am I okay? Like, are you guys? And people wouldn't notice it. And I think a lot of that too was what you were talking about, like the fake smile and just trying to convince yourself that you're fine and it's everybody else's problem and all that stuff too. But you don't see me at work. You don't see me with my family. You only see me here with a controller in my hand. So how are you going to know whether I'm okay or not? I kind of was relying on the wrong people when I was going through all my stuff. So
yeah, it's very hard to tell, especially on stream, unless they're really down on themselves or showing a lot more anger than you're used to, or whatever. Because again, they're only on for a couple hours of their day, right? And it's a show essentially. Yeah.
Did you see the clip where I lost it on NHL 21?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, and like normally I want to support, I want to share, I want to raid, I want to host and all that stuff too. And I was just usually like, subscribe, hit the follow button and all that stuff at the end of the stream and everything like that. And I got to a point where like I legitimately was going to cry at a video game. That should have been my first clue.
Right.
That I was not in a good place.
I saw, I think a couple streams before that, like you were progressively getting more and more worn down on the game. And then I did see that clip. Yeah, it was pretty early on.
Like 2 weeks ago. That was early in NHL 21.
All right, and then I saw that clip, and a lot of people. I mean, there's other people in our community that show anger as like a form of comedy. Like right. Josh Fearless fights his chair and loses half the time, or and people find it funny. So when they see you do it, they're like, oh, it's just funny. He's losing it on a game or whatever. But like I watched it and I was like, that's not Crash. Right, that's not what he does. So I kind of knew something was bothering you. I thought it was just about the game. Obviously, I should have opened up a little sooner. But yeah, it's like when I watched it, I was like, that's not what he's not trying to do. A personality of being angry. So
no, my biggest thing, and just to touch on NHL 21 really quick, my biggest thing has always been it's not the game that's broken, it's the community. If you think that this is a broken game, you have not been playing. I mean, there's a lot of people who have been playing and maybe expected more because they have been playing for so long. But NHL has never been 100% perfect. It has never been um, a a perfect simulation of a game built in reality. Is not. It's based in reality, but it is never. I mean, if you look back at games 5 years ago, they didn't have the right skating mechanics. They were slower. The shot looked stupid. Like 10 years ago, if you look at the graphics compared to now, yeah, the game should be better because the technology is better, but it has never been perfect. So the complaints of 1Ts and even the complaint I had of like phasing through physics and all of that stuff, I know better. It's a video game. Ben Rossi actually reached out to me and explained what happened, and I get it because the limitations of the programming cannot create a perfect world.
Mm-hmm.
So
if the game was perfect, like you would never score. Yeah, it's like it would be the computers would stop you all the time. Other people
right.
playing defense, like you would never get it through because they stack 5 in front of the net. Like,
but you'd try and take a shot and you'd hit somebody in your shins, in their shins with your sticks a lot of the times, and that was the problem I had. Was my stick had to phase through somebody's body for the animation to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it had to shut down the puck touching the stick, which was a sure one-timer goal, wide open net, and I get it, I understand that. But the community going off the way that they do, the community freaking out on a video game. Yes, it is not a perfect video game. Show me a video game that is.
Especially
even
today's
Pac-Man
days.
had glitches.
Right.
So when that happened, that was probably one of the first steps of like that I should have realized that things weren't as good as they were. And then I took a week off and came back and had fun again, and I thought that was it. I thought I had fixed it. Clearly I hadn't. So yeah, it's just I don't know if it's being a part of this community as well, watching those guys freak out and get angry and always hearing negative things. Yeah, this game needed patches. Yes, this game was not perfect. Yes, we're heading into a new generation of systems and new games, and they had to work on a new game. Is what I'm expecting. Is 22 is going to be a new game for new generation and a version of what we had in previous on Xbox One and PS4. But even hearing like people complain about the game that's about to come out and they haven't seen anything. They haven't seen anything, so they complain. They haven't. They're complaining about what could happen. Like we're too entitled. We expect the best, and we get something that isn't as funded as other games, that doesn't have the manpower as other games, but at least we have a game in a world that we enjoy, and we still find a way to crap on it. Yeah. So even existing in that community is stressful.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. I mean, just look at Terry gets a lot of this now, but just being alive, he gets so many trolls just trying to ruin his night every night. Yep. And it's like that shouldn't happen. Like that's a community problem, you know, and it's sad.
The names, the characters in Ishul,
right?
That's not funny. Not
at
a good
all.
Time.
And the thing is, like, I kind of look at like what you're talking about. Like every year, it feels like it's the same cycle. Like around this time, people complain about not seeing the new game. The new game comes out, play the beta. Beta's fantastic. Game comes out, it's not the same game. You're gonna hear the same thing. It's been the past 3 years, and then you're gonna start hearing the same complaints, the same stuff that happened last year. They could literally just copy and paste their Twitter from last year and put it on there again, and it's the same thing. And it's sad because this has been the best NHL we've had in the last 5 years. By far.
It wasn't a bad game, all things considered.
Right. Like it's more competitive now than it has been as far as like sixes and tournaments and stuff. Where before there was only like 2 or 3 teams that were just crapping on people. You know, so There's more variety now. I mean, yeah, it's harder to score. That's how it should be. It's a hockey game. You don't go to an NHL game and see 7-6 every game. You know, like sometimes defense and goalies actually make a difference. It's weird, you know.
But then the biggest complaint too is the one-timers and the forces and everything like that, how easy it was to score, and then you get that side of the argument as well. Well, if it's so hard to just wrist shot from the slot, why is it so easy to always one time? It's a video game.
Right. Yeah.
What else do you want?
Yeah, I think, and so the last thing I'm going to touch on about NHL, since there's some NHL guys, there's the biggest problem that they have is servers. There's people that have 2 or 3 ping playing people that have 60 or higher ping, and that's why it goes through your body. It's because the people who are playing at 2 or 3 ping are going to touch the puck before somebody who's a 60 ping who's in the exact same spot. It's just how it is. It's a huge advantage that has been known for years, and they haven't fixed it. And until that's fixed, you're not going to get a great game. And it's just how it is. So,
yeah, but I play offline mainly.
Right, now that's different. Yeah, but I'm just talking like competitive sixes and stuff. Like the top teams are usually always QC teams and whatnot. But okay, so Spud, yeah, putting on a fake smile, sometimes it's easier to put on a mask. I know a lot of people have enjoyed the mask for that reason. They don't have to hide themselves as much, or you know, they're literally hiding themselves, not figuratively. But yeah,
if you do feel like you're doing that, that is a big red flag. That's a big key to start looking at other things.
Right. So I'm going to take like a 1-minute break to go refresh my water, because after I start talking, I'm gonna need more than what I have now. So I'm gonna just do that. We'll be right back, and then we're gonna get into jumping into our or at least my pass. I don't know if Crash will add anything, but he can comment on it if he's willing to. And then if you guys have anything you guys would like to talk about, please put it in the chat now. We'll go through it and pick some people and see what we can do.
Rafto, before you go, I do have to take off. I want to thank you for what you do with all of this. Like we talked about the shame and everything like that. A lot of people want to bottle it up and hide it and then come onto their stream and pretend like nothing's happening, almost like what Spud was talking about, right? The fact that we had that conversation and the fact that you're running with this, I think is absolutely huge. And I want to thank you on behalf of not only myself, but you know, anybody who is out there who just does feel alone. Like I said before, let this be the first step. Let this understand that you're not, and that there are other people struggling, but there are other people who are out there working on themselves and talking to professionals. Don't let anything that's happening in our world after we figured that we have issues be what you think is going to get you through it. Make sure you're talking to the right people and all of that stuff too. But again, I appreciate that you reached out and wanted me to come out here. I want to hang out with the family a little bit more.
Yeah, no problem.
But you're doing all the right things as far as I'm concerned, and the more we can talk about and eliminate the shame in not feeling normal and, like I said, hiding from this, I think it will go a long way. And the fact that you're putting yourself out there in this community, as much as we just talked about, you know, I commend you. I've got the most amount of respect I could have for you. I had a lot before, but you're a hell of a person, and reaching out like this and sharing with your community is amazing. So,
well, I appreciate
that.
Buddy.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. If you guys can give Crash a follow on Twitch, I put the links there. Also on Twitter, make sure you guys go give him a follow. Appreciate your time, and guys, we'll be back in just a moment. Get the comments in. Spud's already started. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate it. All right, guys, we are back. Appreciate you guys hanging out again. Um, Also, thank you again to Crash, who was here, shared his stories. I feel it's beneficial. We're gonna try each week to get someone different on, and yeah, that's kind of the idea of the show. Um, Give me a second while I try to fix this because I screwed something up. There we go. That's better. Okay, so I promised you guys to go over some stuff with some of my past, so I'm gonna get into a little bit of that. Maybe some of you guys can relate, and then we'll get into some stuff that you guys want to talk about, and then we'll call it a night. But a little bit about my past. So I grew up in a military family. My dad was in the Navy. We moved around a lot. When we lived in Guam, I lived there for 2 years in the early 90s. My mother and father got divorced, and we were forced to move my mother, my sister, and myself to San Diego because Guam is a military base, and if you're not married, then you got to get off. Um, so we moved to San Diego, and that was pretty much the last time I see my father full time. He did come to visit us once more, and after he was transferring from Guam to Panama, he stopped by, and then that's the last time I've seen him. I was in second grade, maybe third grade, something like that. Um, and As a kid, that really affected me, right? I mean, any kid that would really affect. It really affected my sister because she was younger and didn't really get to know who he actually was. And I think that's what upset me more than anything growing up. Because he did make an attempt to reach out again. But I knew the kind of person he was, and I wasn't willing to try. But my sister did because she didn't really get to know him. And I did warn her the type of person he was, but I said, go experience it yourself if you really wish. I'm not going to stop you. And here he hurt her again and abandoned her again. So that really ate at me for a long time. And it like I struggled with it, and I honestly did. How I coped with it. Um, Now my mom struggled and had to work multiple jobs at one time just to feed her family, especially living in San Diego. That was a huge issue. So I was always home alone with my sister, especially at a young age. But that's what my mom had to do, you know. So she was always struggling. I could see my mom struggling. And I know I'm not the only one. There's tons of families out there that are going through the same thing even today. Being in education, I see it with families just coming in to the classroom that I'm involved in, and you can see the parents. It's almost like a cry for help sometimes. And I know my mom was in that situation, and growing up through high school, that really bothered me. So I made it an effort to make it easier for her. I got a job at a high school, or while in high school, and everything I made went towards paying rent, so my mom could start catching up finally. Because financially, ever since she's been divorced from my dad, even to this day, she's been struggling. It's been since '92, and she's never remarried. Um, and granted, some of it's self-inflicted now, but it's just the way it's been, right? And even to this day, it's still rough, right? It's like I still see my mom struggling, and I don't want her to, right? So how can I do to help, um, but without enabling her? Um, and those are some of the struggles I go with today that happened in the past that I've gone through. But this story is more about my dad, and him leaving, and just growing up with that. So when I would actually find myself looking for that male role model in life, and it was hard to find. I found a male role model in a teacher in fifth grade when I first moved to Pennsylvania, and then he ended up being my teacher again in sixth grade because he transferred, so I had him again, and I really looked up to him. Um, really good teacher, he's the reason why I wanted to become a teacher to begin with, and yeah, and then I found another teacher later down the line. I found um, my neighbor at the time was as the father of two young girls that were over there, but he would always come out and hang out with the guys and play basketball and stuff, and just like little moments like that is kind of what you hang on to. Um, I have now since changed the way I think, as far as thinking about like what could have been, the sad moments and stuff. I actually consider myself lucky to go through that experience now that I'm a father. Because even when you're a father, like what Sharky was saying, like you just don't know what's gonna happen. You don't feel confident going into it. It's just a lot of unknowns. But I do know what not to do, and I told my wife this. Like you never have to worry about me doing what he did. I know what not to do because of him, and he taught me more than I realized at that time. Because of those moments where I needed someone when I was growing up, he wasn't there. And again, when I was younger, that really affected me. But now that I've gone through those experiences, I know what to look for in my child, and I know that you know how it felt me not being there. So I always give my daughter full attention. I make sure that will never happen to her. Um, Even if for some reason that me and my wife go through some struggles and we separate, which hopefully never happens because I don't ever plan on that, but stuff happens. Um, and nothing will keep me from seeing my daughter. And I will always make an effort to be a part of her life just because I know what it was like to not have that in my life as a child. So that was a little bit of my past. Let's see. Also, a little bit more about my past. Also had going through high school and stuff. Alcohol was a big part of uh, my living situations. Not with me, but with my mom. She used that as her escape because, like, I used streaming for mine. She used alcohol. Um, so we struggled as a family. A lot of problems, and I know people that even friends to this day that are still going through it, and I feel bad, or I feel for them because I know they're using it to mask something. Because my mom was doing the same thing, and it takes a long time to try to pull someone out of that because they don't realize what they're doing, and it's hard to talk to them when they're not, or when they're in a state of not totally being there, right? Um, and it's hard. It is hard to have that conversation with someone. So I know I've had friends, like I said, at the hockey rink that have gone through it, and I've seen them struggle, and I try to help them because I know what it's like to be on the other side of that. Now, I will say my mom has gotten much better, but a lot of damage was done during that time, especially to like her livers and stuff. Like, I'm sure they're not great. Um, but the relationship between my mom and my sister was really hurting during those times, which I never wanted to see happen because that's pretty much the only parent she has left. And yeah, so um, those are two things in my past that I really struggled with, and I brought that up because I know a lot of people, and there could be people in the chat here that have lived in a single family home, um, or even split time between parents, which I never got to do, so I don't even know what that's like. But I'm sure that is very hard too, especially with two parents that don't like each other, and then they kind of bring it out and use the kid as like the middleman. Um, and I've had that with some students, and it's very rough. Like the parents try to communicate through the children, and that's not how it shouldn't be like that at all. So Um, so if anyone has anything with happens in their past before they became an adult, and want to share, please do so. If you want to do it anonymously, hit me up on Discord. I would appreciate it. Um, and I'll keep your name 100% out of it. We're gonna move on to Spud's comment. Spud, you still here? All right, Davos, we'll get to your thing in just a moment. We're gonna talk to Spud first, and then we'll get to yours. Um, so my best friend who passed last Sunday from suicide, we had that conversation last week. So check the VODs if you want to check out what was said about that. We're not gonna bring it up again. Um, his wife told me I can't go to his funeral this week. My best friend for over 12 years, and he said I can't go to his funeral to pay my respects. Did she explain why? That's my first question. Did she explain why she doesn't want you there? It, does she not like you? Or is it just... I'm trying to say it without being insensitive, so please, if I say it the wrong way, please don't take it the wrong way. Just based on your history with him, me and him were a little wild. She thinks I was... Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. Did she think you're a bad influence on his life that maybe kind of led him in that direction? So you already answered that, so it's kind of hard for me to ask more questions. Um, I mean, and then honestly, Spud, that is super rough because I know he was somebody that meant something to you. Um, I've never been in that situation before. I've had people that I've known pass away. I've had um, my mentor in film. I used to work in film, and he was my mentor and meant a lot to me. Passed away from cancer. That he kept the news from everyone that he even had. So it was like real quick that he passed away. Um, and that affected me pretty bad. Now, granted, I could see him, but that's the only kind of death that I've had to deal with. I haven't had to deal with too much. I've had to deal with like some hockey friends, like in our group that have passed away. But that was the hardest one in my life. But so I understand wanting to go for sure because he was your best friend. Um, it's your last time to say good, to pay your respects, right? Um, what are you considering doing? Are you gonna go anyway, and possibly cause a scene with her, or are you gonna respect that? So she even blamed his death on me. She said you and all your buddies just left him, lived your lives when he had kids and he felt alone. But what she didn't know is that me and him always kept in touch and never left him. Yeah, so I think I don't know, it might be kind of hard, but maybe you need to have like a real conversation with her. Sit her down and hopefully she agrees, but um let her know how you felt about them and how you guys always kept in touch. And you know I get what she's saying there because I mean, okay, I got married, I had kids. My social life was like way up here before I got married. It's like way down here now that I have a kid. It's just how it goes, right? You get married, you have kids, like you just don't have the time. And even when you do, you start hanging out with people that have wives and kids because your bachelor pad guys that you want to hang out with aren't in that lifestyle, right? Yeah, it's fun, but the lifestyle totally changes. It's called growing up. It happens. Um, So from that aspect, I can see what she's saying, but I feel like you guys would do well if you guys talk to each other. Like, just ask her. It's like, have a conversation. Like ask her to go for coffee just so you guys could talk. So that way it's in a mutual place. You guys have a conversation and try to gap that bridge, or bridge the gap there, so you guys, she doesn't resent anything that you've done, and she doesn't blame you, because that's not fair to you, right? That's not fair to you to blame for his passing. So, and if she doesn't want to listen, then that's all. I mean, that's all you can do. Um, but and that's the thing, right? You went from going to bars every week to having him deal with, he's had 2 kids, and it changes his life. You can't do that stuff anymore, and it's a decision you make as you grow up. I decided, like, I was playing even before I met my wife. Like, I was playing in like 5 hockey leagues every night during the week. I made the decision that I would rather have a girlfriend, right? So then that stops as much, and then everyone's like, "Why aren't you playing as much?" So it's because I want to grow up. I want to have a family, So, um, you do make decisions in life that do affect your social life. So, I mean, he made that decision, and that's not fair on you to blame you for that kind of stuff. DJ, yes, we are. This is a mental health checkup that a lot of people do, and we're talking to different people. I've already gone through my stuff through my past. That was the topic this week, and I open it up to viewers, and we're talking to Spud at the moment, who had a friend pass away from suicide last week, and his friend's wife is saying he's not allowed to go to the funeral because she kind of blames him for it. So, for whatever reason, and I just think there's some miscommunication there, which is unfortunate. So, yeah, I really, I don't know, Spud. It's kind of a hard situation because, like, you should get that chance to say goodbye. Um, but I'm going to the service, and honestly, she can kiss my ass if she thinks she saw me. Me and the boys are gonna say goodbye to our best friend. Um, yeah. I mean, Spud. I mean, that's a decision you guys are gonna make. Hopefully, she can cope with it and allow you guys to without causing too much of an issue. I mean, honestly, she should allow you to. Um, just remember, she's also going through a lot too. So, um, if there is an issue, just make sure you guys are, respectful of that too, because she is going through a lot with losing her husband and now being with 2 kids. So just make sure you're sensitive along. I know you're angry as well, um, but just make sure. That's tough. I found my dad. Oh man, that's sad. How long ago is that there, DJ? All right, so we're gonna move on to Davos's comments first, and then DJ will talk about your issues if you'd like to. If you'd like to chip in. Um, but yeah, so just feel like she's trying to she's trying to find a reason. Right, and some people do that. Some people do that. They try to find a reason or blame someone, and it's not really fair to those people, because you didn't do that to them, right? Especially if you were keeping in contact with them, and so that's not fair to put on you. But Davos, are you still here? I think you are. There was a little bit of delay here, so. Davos. DJ, I'm sure you struggled with a lot of that. Um, how old were you then and now, I guess? Okay, so you're 27. So you were a teenager when that happened. Yeah, I mean that's rough, man. I mean, I can't relate to that because I haven't had that experience. I've been very fortunate to not go through that. Oh, you're 27 when it happened. Okay, but still, it doesn't you know doesn't make it any easier. But I've never experienced that. So um, how did you cope with it at the time, comparative to how it might affect you now? You know why? Is it not, if it's not something you want to share, that's fine. But if you do, did it to help my mother financially? Gotcha. Yeah, unfortunately, there's situations where people can benefit from it, right? We, funny you say that. We actually are doing our wills. Doing our wills. We started the process this week, and we were talking about, like what happens if just I go? What happens if both of us go? Just her, all three, like me, my wife, and my kid, and like all these different situations. And it's a tough thing to talk about. Like, what happens when you're gonna die, right? Um, I mean, it is hard, but puts in perspective, like how you can like if me and my wife go with this with these wills and policies and stuff, like we got a lawyer to do it. Like my daughter's set for the rest of her life, right? Um, Based on how our coverage is, and obviously that's not what we'd rather just be here for. But I can see where that's not the first time I've heard that happening, right? When in your situation, like I know people have done that to help benefit their family. Um, so, are you doing okay now though? Like you obviously I'm sure you miss them, but are you are you doing okay? Number one character, it says rewarded a family. Smart, he's alcoholic, workaholic, and diabetes taking his eyesight, so it made me. Yeah, it's rough time. Sometimes I see him in my dreams. Yeah, it's yeah, and when that happens, it's yeah. Is that PTSD? Is that like what that would be considered? Yeah, like kind of reliving that experience. Yeah. Yeah, I know, like, my sister goes through some PTSD with some stuff, and she actually just got diagnosed with it this past week, and I know she's been struggling, so I understand what that. Not, I don't understand the actual thing. I just think I just understand like what you're talking about as far as like the struggle, because I see my sister struggle. So yeah, J Master. Sometimes the conversations are a little tough, because people have gone through. Yeah, and that's the thing. But the idea of the show, J Master, isn't just for people to like say this stuff, right? It's kind of to open up your eyes to your community members and saying, hey, like, they've gone through these experiences. Maybe you can relate to it sometimes, with some of their issues, and maybe you can, you know, understand that person a little more if you become friends with them. I've learned a lot about a lot of our community members just based on their conversations with us. So, um, so that's kind of the idea. Best thing one can do is believe that everything will be fine. And J Master 100% agree with you. I mean, it is sad, and honestly, like there's been things that have been said that I never thought we'd talk about on a stream. It's not even something I considered, but I'm not going to tell someone that we're not going to talk about their issues. You know what I mean? Like, if I opened it up, that I open up that Pandora's box of this issue, because it's something that they're dealing with, and it's something that it's important, for them to talk about if that's what they're struggling with, right? I don't think their stuff should be censored because of that. So as long as it's it is sad. It is sad. It's again something no one deserves to go through it. And but yeah, like DJ said, best thing you can do is believe that everything will be fine. Not having your hero be there is defeating, but realizing life does go on, and life does go on. Sun comes up every day. Unfortunately, sometimes people around you just won't be there one day, and that's the thing that we all have to live with, right? Like, we're not invincible. We're all human, um, and unfortunately, sometimes we go through things that are hard to forget, right? It's hard to forget. How you doing, Baxter? What's going on, buddy? Yeah, I've had a lot of experiences that I definitely have not forgot. Um, not even remotely close to what DJ's talking about, but like, I've gone through traumatic natural disasters that I remember every little minute of when I was a kid. I'm good. You, Baxter? We're doing good. I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping this up tonight um for our mental health checkups. But Yanip, what's going on, buddy? Super Sexy Senator, I love you too, buddy. Appreciate you. Um, but yeah, we're this is a mental health checkup. We've been talking to viewers. We had Crash Andrews on. We talked for about an hour and a half um, of conversations with just struggles that we've been dealing with. We talked a lot about Crash's stress struggles coming in. Um, Kind of open viewers up into his eyes to kind of see what he's working with. Talked to some viewers here. We were just talking to DJ. He went through some traumatic stuff a little over 10 years ago, 11 years ago, maybe. Yeah, 11 years ago. Yeah, everything in our life shapes us as human beings. It only on you to decide if you want to rise or fall in the depths. That's actually a really good comment, because honestly, like, in any situation, have it be DJs or mine with like in the past with my dad leaving. Anyone going through anxiety, weight problems, like you could use that same quote for everything. Are you going to sit there and let that thing eat away at you? Or are you going to try to gain the confidence to go through and rise above it? That's something that's very important. And I know that's why we started the show. Again, I know I've said this multiple times. This is just an outlet for people to get out what they have to say. Because sometimes it's hard to talk about it to someone else face to face. So you guys can see my face. I don't necessarily see yours. So you can talk about it, get it off your chest. Maybe somebody resonates with it a little bit. Conversation starts. Hopefully it makes you feel better. There are people watching that have thanked me in Discord messages saying thank you for allowing these people to have an outlet because they've gone through the same issues, and it was nice to see that they aren't alone in that situation. So Super Sex Center says, I have some anger, or I have an issue with sugar. I eat too much of it. Yes, I do too. I don't have diabetes, but I feel like if I keep going on the path that I do, I'm going to, and I don't want it. So I've gained a lot of weight because of it, and I need to stop. So, J-Master, when my grandpa was in the hospital for a month during heart surgery and the pandemic, pancreatic cancer, it was also a gallbladder issue. It was really sad that I thought he would pass, but my mom still had belief and told me that she can get hit by a bus tomorrow. You never know what could happen. And today he still rides his bike every day and goes on walks. See, and that's, again, another true statement. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, you could be gone tomorrow, right? And some people can fight through stuff, and it's awesome to hear that he's still around, because that, based on what you shared, like, that doesn't look good, right? I'm glad he's pulling through and still around, but yeah, every day on the news someone goes, man, and one day it's somebody you know. Like, I just lost somebody in our hockey community, just had a heart attack. He was only 50. And that was unexpected. I had somebody pass away in my hockey community. He was 32 and had a heart attack. And he was actually pretty healthy. He was a healthy dude. Had a heart attack, and he's no longer here. And he was somebody who I competed against for many years. A great guy. Just got married. Just had a kid. And it's super sad. And it's just nothing you can do about it. You just... And I'm sure his wife has gone through and rised against it. She probably struggled for a long time, and hopefully she had many resources and outlets for help, which I'm sure she did. Oh, you had a heart attack too? Lucky to even be here. See, and that's what I mean. Like, I could have one next week, and I have no idea, and you just try to work on yourself to hopefully not have to go through that kind of stuff, but you never know, man. Like, it could be anyone. It could, like, my friend was super healthy, I had another high school classmate. Now this happened probably 10 years ago. I've been out of high school a lot longer than that, but somebody I went to high school, and I was friends with him on Facebook, and here he was supposed to be at a wedding. He ended up getting on a plane, going to his hotel room, and he never showed up at the wedding. Here, they found him in his hotel room because he ended up getting a blood clot on the plane, and it ended up killing him. It was that quick. It just clogged up an artery, and that was it. So, count your blessings, right? Don't take anything for granted. Always tell the people in your life that you love them, because, we're not here for forever. So, the Widowmaker, I have to take 6 pills a day now, and I hate pills. Yeah, I hate pills too, and I don't envy you whatsoever. I mean, if I have to take them, I will, but I take as little medicine as possible in my life. I usually wait too long to take medicine, which causes me to be sick longer when I get colds and stuff. But I get it. Right. I tell my wife and my kid multiple times a day that I love them because I could go out for groceries and I might not come back, you know? And that's not something I ever aspire to happen, but I can't control what happens around me with that kind of stuff, right? So, um, or like, you know, like I brought this up last week. Terry O got in a car accident last week and totaled his car. His airbags didn't go off. He's lucky to, you know, I'm not saying his accident was like life-threatening or anything, but it could have been, you know, and, you know, you just can't, you can't rely on other people to keep you safe, you know? So I mean, I'm very happy that one of my good friends in this streaming community is still here, you know? That was hard to see when he showed me the picture, you know, because it didn't look good, but luckily his car kept him safe. You know, it's tough to see people go through that, but in the long run, he's safe and healthy and got lucky, you know. So he also tells people now, tell people every day you love them because you just never know what's going to happen. So I always make sure to do that with my wife and child, and when I talk to my mom, and you know, I still tell her I love her, and my sister, I tell her I love her and stuff because, you know, like I said, everyone has their own stuff. I don't know what's going on in their lives half the time because, you know, I try to stay out of their business, but if they open up to me, I'm always there for them, you know? And same thing with a lot of my friends. There's some friends I don't talk to for a year, right? But if they called me, I would be there immediately if they needed me. I actually had that situation a couple years ago. It was we had our a guy officiate our wedding. He's one of my really good friends. And his wife called me and said, "Are you available to help me? Because my dog needs help." And here, found out her dog, which is a big Newfie, the real big ones, his liver flipped, and it was like cutting circulation off, and it like on the inside. So he was like slowly dying, essentially. So I had to take him to like a vet emergency hospital like 2 hours away, and was with her all day. And that was the first time I talked to her since our wedding at the time, which was, you know, like a year later, you know. But she knew that I would help her because she knew that I cared about them enough, and you know, and she would do the same thing, you know. She would be there for me if I needed her to. So so yeah, again guys, that's important. Make sure you tell everyone around you that you love them. Always have love in your heart. Stay positive. Love you too there, Senator. All right. That's it for me tonight, guys. We have early installed 10 or 12 security cameras. It's USA and Crofto at Cornwall. I appreciate you showing up. We'll be back next week with it too. So with another special guest, and we'll just kind of see where it takes us, right? So again, appreciate you stopping by. It's awesome that I saw you again. So all right, guys. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to bring up? Because if not, then you know, I'll go play some games. My cat left 3 months ago. I miss her every day. Yeah, that's Victimizer. Thanks for being here, buddy. Even if you lurk. Appreciate you, man. You've been a good supporter of the channel. And again, I appreciate you every day as well, buddy. Have yourself a wonderful night. Yeah, I have a cat 3 months ago. I miss her every day, and yeah, and like my cats are my world too. Like they're my little kids, so I understand that, man. You know, when I had to put my one cat down after 20 years, I that was one of the hardest days of my life, honestly. Cat was 20 years old, and I had him for most of my life at the time, and that was like that affected me big time because I knew it was time. Like he was struggling really bad, and I waited probably too long. But yeah, that was a tough day. So, and people get attached to their animals. You know, they are children. So that's how I look at it. But all right, guys. If no one else has anything, we were going to end this portion of the stream. And let's see here. I think I'm going to just talk a little bit what Davos talked about before I leave. Davos said, I've been down in the dumps because my girlfriend of 10 months broke up with me, and it's been rough the last few weeks. So keep me in your thoughts, buddy. Yeah, that's, I've been there too. Been there many times. I do get it. Yeah, much love to you too, their victimizer. Appreciate you, buddy. I've been there. You'll pull through the other side there, Davos. I really hope you can get through it, and hopefully things pull through the other side. So, all right, guys. I felt like this was a good stream. We've been doing it for 2 hours. I think that's pretty good. So, I'm gonna take a short break, and then I'm gonna see if we can get some Apex going. Let's see here. And then we'll go from there. But again, guys, stay positive. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for sharing your stories once again. It's hard to talk about, you know? And I feel like it's important that we talk and not suppress a lot of this stuff. So, a lot of it is sad, but that's why we suppress it, and I don't think that's good. So, hopefully you guys find an outlet here. Hopefully you guys keep coming back, listening to other people's stories, showing compassion like they showed you. Maybe help talk people through it, right? Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that, buddy. We'll change the color for when we get on Apex here. But, all right, guys. I'm going to go set up the stream for the next portion. So, thanks again, guys. I appreciate everything. So stick around if you guys want to watch some games. If not, I will talk to you guys next week. Peace.